Hi guys, Durantula90 here again, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about a set of games that are very, well, don't really know how to put it into words, but they're very important games to me. Something that I grew up with, kind of the whole really made me want a PlayStation in the first place, and that is the WWF Smackdown games. Now, if you're a wrestling fan like I am, you've played these games, or you grew up when Smackdown came out, and it was just absolutely crazy. It was the whole reason why I wanted a PS1 in the first place. But we'll get more into that. I'm going to talk about the first two games first, and then I'm going to do a part two where I'm going to talk about the other three games, just to kind of keep it kind of console. So we'll talk about the PS1 games first, and then we're going to talk about the PS2 games in another video. So I'm ready if you are. Let's check it out. Nice. So, Smackdown. What can we say about that? Like I said, the first Smackdown, it's just so good. It's just like, I remember the first time I ever saw gameplay for this was when I went to my school fair, my primary school fair at the time, and these older kids had a PlayStation set up for you to play, two-player, so you could play against someone. And I remember someone playing. They were playing this. They were set up, and one guy was playing as the Big Show, and the other guy was playing as Deborah. Funny, right? But like just watching the play and just being a big wrestling fan at the time, we'd always go around to our friend's house and we'd watch wrestling all the time. We were absolutely in love with it at the time, so it's like actually playing it. I remember playing the match. I was Kane against Paul Bearer. I can't remember who I was against. It might have been my twin brother. I don't know. But it was just so amazing. And it's just like, even today, it's been a while since I've actually played this, but like, just thinking about it now, I really want to play this game. Like, regardless of all the other wrestling games that come out, I mean, let's not talk about the 2K stuff, because that's just disastrous. I mean, 2K20 was just, what was that? That was absolutely horrendous. But we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about these. So, even just the intro to this, is just absolutely crazy. It just sends chills. So for that reason, I've got to play a bit of it. Let's go. Yeah, I so want to play this. It's just not funny. This is clearly a game that, if someone said, what games would you take to a desert island, this would definitely be one of them. Just because it just is. There's nothing else to say. Well, there is. So, like, for me personally, like all of the stuff you can do on this, like, obviously it's so crazy. Like, you can create your own pay-per-view, creating your own match cards, changing you decide who becomes champion. For its time, it was so great. I mean, you had games like Warzone, Attitude, and then you had like the N64s, like WrestleMania 2000, and then like when No Mercy came out on the N64. Like, I know No Mercy, a lot of people classed it as like the best one. I've not actually played it. I've seen gameplay for it. Maybe I need to play it to kind of make my decision, but I do feel that this is definitely my favourite wrestling game of all time. I mean, there are some things on this game as well that are kind of questionable, like the fact that there's a knockout element. Like, it's not boxing, it's not MMA, and all that other stuff. So why would you have a knockout element? Yes, there have been times in wrestling where people have got knocked out, but why would you have it in a game? Why would you have the knockout element? Like, people don't want the knockout element. Otherwise, how are you going to get, oh yeah, you managed to pin him for the 1, 2, 3, you did it great, but you can't do it if you knock him out. So, thankfully, like, you can turn this element off, or, realistically, the only way you can knock him out is using your finisher, so, like, which then also causes the problem that if you don't want to knock him out, you kind of limits you to go, right, I'm not going to use my finisher. And obviously, you like the finisher because you like the wrestler, so you want to do it. but sadly not. But what can you do about it? Uh, but there's other things like the season on this as well was like it can go on. It's almost infinite. It's pretty much infinite. Like there's no stopping part. Where in the later games there is, but we'll talk about that in part two. But like there's so many. Like you can just play the season over and over. Like there's no stopping point. You just carry on. You keep going, keep going, keep going. Which is kind of boring in a way because then that's what makes you start switching players. Which again, that's what you've got to do in the first. Really, let me try and say that again. That was wrong. It's kind of what you just need to do. There's also about the variety. So it's like you can play. You become WWF champion, and then you defend it for a while. But then it's like, then what? You carry on at a certain point. You could even challenge for other championships. I think at some other points. The times we go through the season, you'll end up fighting for other titles. And then obviously you get to a point where, the matches become really strange. Like, it gets to a point where you win the championship, and then you'll be times where you go on to like a week by week on the season, and you won't even have a match. And then there are some times where you think, oh, sometimes it's boring, like facing the same people, so you may want to skip it, which is actually an option. But the problem is with skipping it is you have the potential to lose. So like if you lose it, obviously you should lose your title, and obviously it's really stupid to kind of skip it with the possibility of losing it. But then it's just like how much with the season that goes on all that time. How long do you play it before you say to yourself you want to play someone different? Because like with the combinations you can have like doing a single match playing as every wrestler, and then doing all these other matches playing as a single wrestler, and doing a season as every wrestler, and all that. There's so many different combinations you can do while playing it, which makes it such an amazing game. And there are times where like there's just so many random things that happen. Because obviously with the seasons you have stuff like backstage stuff. Like, wrestlers may be talking, and then wrestlers are getting attacked, and all these other things, and like wrestlers are being called out. In the ring, and it's crazy, really. But what can you do? So, I think in general, it's just something that's just so amazing. It'd definitely be my favourite one. Probably my I don't know what kind of order I'd go with in terms of what I like out of the 5 games, but I'll definitely I may compile that list at some point. I don't know. So obviously on the back of success of this one, obviously there's the second one, and when this came out as well, like obviously there was a lot of different things, obviously a lot of different elements added. So like you'd have different wrestlers you could play as, different things going on in the seasons, and all that other stuff. Obviously seasons are different as well. I think they still go on like all the time. Like I don't think there's a stopping point. I think again it's just an infinite amount of the season that you can do. But again, there's different match types, different wrestlers, different all these kind of things you can do. And again, obviously there's a skip element and there's all other stuff. But again, how much of that do you really want to do? And and yes, you can switch off knockout, which is exactly what I would do every single time, because it's like you're playing a wrestling game. You're not looking to be, you're not Tito Ortiz trying to knock out Ken Shamrock. You're The Rock trying to do the people's elbow on Triple H without knocking him out somehow. But no, I think in general, like when this came out, there's just so many things, like and unlocking all the different characters as well, like Shawn Michaels and like Mick Foley and all these other things, and it's just like, and I think there's different matches as well. I think on this one, I can't quite remember which one's which. Oh yes, Hell in a Cell is different. Like obviously on the first one they don't have Hell in a Cell yet. No, they didn't. So on the second one they do. And obviously that was always so great, trying to choke slam him through the middle bit, and trying to hit them off there, which obviously becomes much more painful in the later games where it matters. But then it's like you think, all the way the characters play out as you play in them is really good. Like the controls and everything are absolutely great. Like when you look at like some of the reactions of like the special moves, like people kind of go, "All right, well the special moves, are they great? Do they look like they should? And obviously they're not going to look the same as people do it on the shows, obviously, because that's real life and this is a game. But like stuff like the Stone Cold Stunner, for example, obviously you see like any person that's ever stunned him has like their own reaction. Obviously there was the absolute dreadful first time McMahon one where he stunned him for the first time in 1997, and it was just like it's almost like he fell over him after he stunned him, which was weird. But I'll just show you the one that they use on the game. So yeah, so there's that one, and like if you've been a fan of wrestling and you've watched it all this time, that's the Rock's reaction. He is the only person that's ever reacted that way to being stunned. You've got people who were stunned while they were still on their feet. People that was obviously most of them people being stunned, obviously dropping on their knees. So it's just like, and then obviously you can do the mini stunner, which just makes it so like you stun them and they just kind of like fall back from their knees, as opposed to doing the whole flailing around like the Rock did. But obviously that's the reaction that they use. And obviously all the other ones are all pretty much the same kind of things. But it's like, and certain other ones, like back in the other sorts of people like Hardcore Holly and stuff like that. He didn't really have a finisher at the time. They used like the Falcon Arrow, which is a move he did use in wrestling, but it wasn't his special move. Like he ended up having a special move called the Alabama Slam, which was more of a special move than anything he's ever done, really. So when you look at the matches he has done, like a lot of his hardcore matches, obviously, that you can win by that because he's going to hit someone in the head with something, or he's going to put someone through a table, and he's going to win that way. Whereas with this, it's just like, is it a good enough move? And then you look at some other wrestlers. I'm trying to think of someone off the top of my head. Like ones like Chris Jericho with a double power bomb. It's like the Walls of Jericho isn't even a special move, and you can obviously play as him on the first one and the second one. And the Walls of Jericho isn't even a special move; it's the double power bomb, and which is weird. But then like you can do the line salt as well, but it's just like that's not a special move. It's a double power bomb which turns to a pin, which could also knock him out, which is really weird. But I think in general, these games are just great. They resonate with a lot of people, and I'm very happy to own them. I'm very happy. It's so nostalgic for me. Just whether it's the first one or the second one, it's just if you've played them, you've played them. If you're not, I do recommend you check them out, especially if you're into wrestling and you've only played like the newer games or stuff like that, and you are nostalgic for the older stuff. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about these games. Were they something you grew up with playing? Are they something that you've only recently tried, or or did you think No Mercy was the best one? Was No Mercy the better one to you? And should I pick No Mercy up and find out and do a comparison? Let me know what you guys think. But I mean, in general, like. Again, I've played these for so many years now, and it's just kind of like I could just. It's one of those games that it may not be like obviously when you think about games in your collection, you go this and that, and these are good games, and these are games you'll just carry on playing over and over. But games like this, I think these are more of like a leisure kind of game, where obviously you've got games that are a bit more competitive or a bit more story driven and stuff like that. Like I've just completed the Tyrant of George Washington DLC on Assassin's Creed 3 for the first time. First time playing Assassin's Creed 3, so for me that was a completely different Assassin's Creed experience. So like if you're someone who's played these and then you move on to the later stuff, or if you're someone who's done the later stuff and gone to these, it's again, it's one of those things where it's out of your comfort zone and maybe different, but it's worth a try. And I think it's just something that, if you're a fan of these, you should definitely pick them up. They're really, really cheap as well. Like, you can easily get them both for under £10. They're just so worth it. Like I said, it's more of a leisure game. You know, it's a kind of game where you can just sit and have kind of fun with, like if you're doing like arcade racing games or stuff like that. You know, it's just a game that you can play. That's just, you know, it's not a game that, you know, you need to get to the end or other stuff. It's like you play it for as long as you kind of want to. You know, you in a respect that, you know, you can play it for as long as you feel like playing it. Which is the same with any game, but like it's because it's not a story-driven game. You know, it's not a story. It's not an RPG. It's not anything that kind of goes one thing leading to another. It's kind of more the same, more like that for the season. But again, the season can go on go on forever. Um, so that's it for this video, guys. You know, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Should I pick up No Mercy? Should I play? Is it worth playing? You know, should I do a comparison video between No Mercy and Smackdown? Of what I personally think about it. You know, just let me know what you guys think about that. And, you know, if you're a big fan of wrestling and you haven't played these games, you should really check them out. Really just have a go with them, even if you don't like it. Or, you know, because obviously it's, you know, this is the 90s as opposed to, you know, whatever. But, you know, let me know, you know, are you still a wrestling fan? You know, do you still watch it? Or, you know, did you still play the games? You know, what do you do? Like, for me, I stopped, like, SmackDown versus Raw 2007 is kind of the last WWE game that I played. I think from, like, 2008 onwards, it was just really too complicated for me. Not necessarily complicated, but, like, it just seemed like everything was going in a weird direction. Like, changing, but not necessarily changing for the better. So that's it, guys. As usual, if you like what you saw, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe down below for more content. I'll be doing parts 2 very soon. I've also got a pickups video for Facebook Marketplace to come. Got some stuff there that I'm going to show. I'm thinking I'm going to either pick it up tonight, being Thursday, or Friday morning. But I'm going to show you guys what I get. There's some games in there as well. There's some games and some other things. So I'll show you that when it comes. But other than that, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. And as usual, guys, take care of yourselves.